Alright, good morning guys, Tush coming at you. Welcome back to the Tush Mahal. It's Saturday, December the 12th, just coming up to 10 a.m. or so. And we've got a good start to the weekend. We managed to pick up 4 of the 5 packages that I've been waiting for to help me with the TR250 restoration project, at least to be able to move forward in the next couple of weeks. So I'm waiting for one more package that's not exactly critical. I would like to have had it, but I think that's going to arrive later on this week, so that would be good. Anyway, maybe what I'll do is I'll do a quick unboxing of the parts that I've got to help me move forward with this project, and we'll show you what I got. Alright guys, the first box I've unpacked is from a company called Grove Components, and here is their information here and their website if you want to take a look. Grove Components does stainless steel hardware kits for Triumph sports cars. I'm not sure if they do Spitfire, GT6, etc., but they do kits for the TR5, TR250, and TR6. They're limited kits. I have used a company called MMS stainless steel fasteners in the US, but they've substantially raised their pricing, and it doesn't make much sense to me to go with them, so I was looking for an alternate supplier of stainless steel components for the TR series of cars. So Grove fit the bill in certain applications at least, and I'll show you what I got. So I've just got a generic 450 piece stainless steel. They call it a value pack. This is fine thread, obviously. It's just got a mixture of hex screws, flat washers, nylock washers, lock washers, etc. So just various fasteners that we'll put to good use in certain locations that we deem fit on the car. When I'm talking about certain locations, there are certain locations that tend to be in the weather and sort of rust over a little bit more quickly. I'll give you an example. On the TR250, the pedal box attachment bolts are pretty prominent when you raise the bonnet, and sometimes a lot of water collects on that shelf. It's a flat shelf, and water tends to collect there and rust out the fasteners, so I like to put stainless steel fasteners there to hold the pedal box in. So that's one example of an area that I like to put stainless steel fasteners. As you know, I'm using pretty much mostly the standard fasteners that came with the car so far. That I've assembled the car with all basically generic, or not generic, but all stock fasteners on this car. One of the other areas I like to do is to do the doors in stainless steel. So this is actually a complete fitting kit, hardware kit for the doors for the TR5, TR6, TR250. So that's a complete kit, so we'll put that to good use, all stainless steel. So I'm happy about that. And then the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to get a bumper fitting kit. So this is a stainless steel rear bumper fitting kit for the TR250. I'm not going to be running a stock bumper on the front, otherwise I would have ordered the front kit as well. But we're just going to go with a rear bumper on this car, and we'll come up with something else for the front bumper. So stainless steel components to mount the rear bumper of the car. So that's the first package. Some of you might be interested in a price breakdown of these kits that I just purchased. So there is the total of the kits. So it's 142.59 pounds sterling. So that equates to about I think it's a little less than $300 Canadian. As far as the kits are concerned, they break down. The value pack was 55 pounds, the door refurbishment kit 33 pounds, and the rear bumper fitting kit was 28 pounds. So not exactly cheap, but it's nice to have some stainless steel fasteners at hand, as I'd mentioned, in certain locations. So if you want to play, you gotta pay. Alright guys, next box, and this is getting into the critical boxes that I was waiting for. So box from British Parts Northwest, kind of like an early Christmas here. Let's get rid of all this packing. So I was waiting for those mid pipes. So and more importantly, let's not even bother about the mid pipes. Got to look at the candy that we got. Ooh, those look like filling removers. I call those toffees. So anyway, we'll put those aside. So mid pipes are here. So there you go. Left and right mid pipes. So we'll put those to good use. I can't recall how much these were. I think they were about for both pipes. I think they're about $70 US, including or probably plus shipping. So anyway, we'll put those to good use. Alright, next box from British Parts Northwest, and it's not exactly completely critical to move forward. There are some parts in here that I require, but I was kind of trying to fill the order out as far as getting some free shipping, so I ended up getting a new bulb kit. So this replaces all the dash bulbs, so that comes in handy when you're doing a full restoration. You want to make sure, if you're going the bother of putting a new harness in and getting all your gauges cleaned up, that you want to put new bulbs in all the gauges. So those will come in handy. It's nice to be able to get a full kit. This is a new switch for the wipers that was on sale. So anyway, it's kind of cheap looking and cheesy, but it was cheap to buy. So I'll see what my other switch looks like. That was kind of just a quick replacement. And then I got into getting some more components for that front sway bar. So these are the sway bar end links. I was missing one, so I finally got that. And then we got some new, actually I got two of them. I wanted them to match. So we've got two of those. And then we've got the sway bar mounts. So these are like the stock mounts, but for the larger sway bar with the poly bushings for that. So hopefully that will fix my sway bar installation problem. And the other thing I got were some new ferrules for the fuel pump fittings. I figured always good to have some of these on hand as well if your fuel pump leaks a little bit. These are good to have as a quick fix. You should always replace these when you're mounting your pump. If you're reusing an old pump, which I am, you may want to replace these ferrules on your fuel lines. Alright, next box. Oh, one last thing I almost missed. Just a new cork gasket for the gas tank sender. Gas tank will be going in at some point, hopefully in the near future, so I know I was going to need one of those, so we figured we'd pick one up while we could and while I remembered it. So again, trying to fill out an order, it's always good to get those small parts that you're going to need eventually. So we'll put that in inventory and we'll pull it out when we need it. And this box of parts, again, off the top of my head, was somewhere around $65, $70 US. So I don't know, that translates probably to about 130 bucks Canadian, something like that. So another box, but it all adds up in the end. But again, there are parts where I require, so no sense crying about it. Alright, and the last big box I have is this. So as mentioned, let's see if I'm missing anything. As mentioned, I was looking to get a new kit for the throttle linkage for the triple Webers. So this is from Redline. I purchased this from Carbs Unlimited. So this is a triple Weber DCOE setup. Linkage bar, DCOE, 3x DCOE, 126.88. No shipping, which was good. So I can't remember what that converts to, 160 bucks or so Canadian. So anyway, so that's going to definitely help me replace that old rusty linkage. So we've got all brand new. So I'm resisting the urge to go with the old rusty bits, and hopefully this will transform the look and the performance of that linkage that was on the car. We'll use the old linkage as a reference to set this new linkage up. Hopefully this will work. So that's it for the unboxing. Time to get to work. I guess what we'll do is we'll start working on making up a new carburetor linkage. So I've just taken the intakes back off. I've put the intake and exhaust manifold gasket back on. There's the pin that we drilled for that center carb, so I had to make a little clearance in the gasket for that. So we've done that. So I'll put the header back on and get that located, and then we'll work on getting the intake put back on. And again, it's a bit of a puzzle as to how this goes on, because the linkage bar needs to go on as the intakes go on. I can't just stick the intake on and then put the linkage on afterwards. It doesn't work that way. So we'll fabricate the linkage up first, and then we'll figure out how to put this all together and get it back on the car. So stay tuned. We'll get this unwrapped and figure out what components we have to work with, and we'll make something out of that look like this, but only better, new and improved. Just wanted to make a quick note on the British Parts Northwest fitting kit for the exhaust and intake manifold. So obviously you got the brass nuts and they sent flat washers. The only problem is this car, according to the parts manual and according to what I think it should take, and I've just looked it up in the parts manual, they don't take flat washers, they actually take lock washers. So we're going to substitute all the flat washers for lock washers, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. Again, just don't assume that what you get in a kit is correct. Make sure you look it up in the parts book and make sure it's accurate before you do the installation, or you're going to have some problems with those nuts loosening off, I think. All right, just wanted to make a quick note of that. All right, guys, I've unpacked the triple Weber DCOA crossbar linkage kit, and I've put aside some parts that I know I'm not going to need. It's always good to have spare parts anyway, but there are parts that I don't need. These are the parts I expect that I'm going to need. Here is the new rod. The good thing is it's the same diameter as the old rod, which is good, or throttle shaft, whatever you want to call it. I do not need this part on the end of it, so I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this off. I don't need this rod to be this long either, but I think I'll leave the extended length for now. We'll just cut the end off, and we'll leave it a little longer than we need. We can always trim it up later. There is a through bushing on the one side, so I can push the throttle shaft out longer on the one side. It is capped on the other side, but I can actually leave the long end out on the left side of the linkage. So first thing we'll do is we'll cut something up. All right, there's the start of that linkage bar, and I'm just trying to set it up primarily the way the old one came off the car. I've got sort of the distances marked out between the stops. So that's pretty much the length the rod needs to be, and as I mentioned, I'm going to have some extra rod on this end that we can trim later. And obviously I have to work on the lengths of when we set this up to make sure we get wide open throttle and make sure we get actual, good throttle actuation. So anyway, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we've got the manifolds installed just on the top bolts. We're going to get the footballs out now and do the bottoms up. So we just got the linkage sort of just dangling here, and I can already see I think I'm going to have an issue with some clearance here, and I think these got to go probably on the inside drillings, probably in at least the middle drilling. But again, we'll figure that out as we go along. I'm sure there's going to be some tweaking as we go. I may have to put this on and take it off a couple times before I get it right. Anyway, we'll continue on. We'll mount up the rest of the manifolds, the exhaust and the carb manifolds with the footballs and the rest of the nuts, so we get that mounted fully, and then we'll worry about soft mounting the carburetors to the actual intakes. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but for some people who have never worked on a 250 or 6 before, and they're trying to get the intake or the exhaust off, in particular the intake manifold, these are the footballs I'm talking about, and you can see how they sort of grab the bottom of the intake manifold and order to put pressure on the bottom. So they've got these little dimples on them that sort of connect to the bottom of the intake, and you've got to sort of position them correctly in order for these to work. And they're about a little bit of an angle, as you can see. Now obviously the stock manifold, the fitting's a little bit different. I can see that these intakes have had a little bit of weld added to increase the strength of the clamping force on the intake manifold. But anyway, you get the picture. That's what the footballs look like installed. Hopefully that's a little bit helpful. Alright guys, time to try and figure out the soft mounts for the Webers. And as mentioned, I bought all new soft mounts. So here are the new alloy version with the new rubber bushings and Thackeray washer arrangement, and we'll get to that later. It's all described here in the soft mounting tips from carbparts.eu. New stainless steel hardware, and I thought you might be interested in what came off as far as soft mounts. So these are the old style one-piece soft mounts, which have seen better days. So it's probably a good thing that we're replacing them with new. The only thing I'm concerned about is having enough space, because obviously these are going to probably space the carbs out a little bit more than what they were. And as you might recall, I have limited space in the engine bay, as there's sheet metal there that Comes pretty darn close to the air filters when they're installed. So hopefully we're going to be okay. I already come across one issue. Let me just grab one of these stainless steel bolts. And remember I mentioned that things will probably have to come on or go on and come off. Well, we've got the intake and exhaust all bolted down fully now. And the problem now is I have to take off, I think, at least one of the intakes because I cannot get the bolts through the back here for the carburetor mount. So I'm gonna have to take off this carb, which I can, so that I can sort of lift it up, move this linkage up so I can get all these bolts in these top mounts. So yeah, just got to remember all these sort of tips and tricks because I'm gonna have to end up taking these carbs back off the car after the initial startup because I don't believe the carbs, well, at least the carb bodies will not fit. I don't think with the body, trying to get the body tub on the car successfully, so the carb bodies are going to probably have to come back off. I think the actual manifolds can stay on, but we'll figure that out when we get to it. We're thinking way ahead of the game. Anyway, so I'm going to loosen this off in order to be able to get these mounting bolts in. This one I couldn't even get out because it hits where this piece has been welded on, so we're going to go with one old stud. Hopefully that never breaks, so we'll be in trouble. Okay, the stud problem is corrected. We've got them all in now. So we'll go ahead and we'll start one by one on each carb, and we'll install the soft mounts first and then the carb body, and we'll tighten them up. We'll bring you back. Alright, the new soft mounts are installed just loosely on the intake manifolds. They look great. Nice piece of machining actually, and it will allow me at some point in the future just to replace these O-rings as necessary once they wear out, and they will wear out at some point. Anyway, I guess we can add the carb bodies, and wish me luck. So according to the diagram, this is the way that these work. So these little rubber bushings here are encased by these two little cup washers, and these will go on the top mounts. The bottom washers are these Thackeray washers, and they will go on the bottoms, and then they get gapped from 0.035 to 0.050, so we'll do 0.040 as our gap on the Thackeray washers with a feeler gauge. We'll show you that once we get one of the carbs installed. Alright guys, the carbs are now mounted. Still need to do a little bit more tightening here and there, but looking not too bad. We put the velocity stacks on. I do have one problem though. This linkage is not going to work. The actual Roy's joints are going to be too long, and that's as short as I can make them. So it's pretty vertical and it's not going to pull properly. So yeah, I'm going to have to rethink that. They need to sit something like that and be able to pull from there. But if I hook them up to where they're supposed to be, they're almost vertical, and that's just not going to work. So I'm going to have to rethink that. I'm kind of thinking if it wasn't broken, I shouldn't have fixed it, but too late now. Anyway, we'll think a little bit more about that. In the meantime, I'm going to get my fuel line fittings, and we'll fit those and get those out of the way. Well, I think I've just about had enough of working on the carbs today, since I'm at a point where I need to go backwards again, and I don't feel like it. So we're going to move on to something else, and we're pretty close to calling it the end of a day anyway. But I figured as the last thing of this evening, I'd actually see if those mid pipes are going to work out. So just cleaning off that board there and cleaned off my tools, put the collector back on, and we're going to see if that's going to fit up okay. I'm hoping it will. It looks like it will, but I'll probably have to grind off those two hangers. I don't think I require those, so those might need some modifications. But other than that, let me give that a shot before I go in for the day, and hopefully it works out. Alright guys, with a little surgery I think it's going to fit. So I think what I'll do is I'll trim that bracket off, and I'll make that cut there. Worst case scenario, I can always weld that back on if I screw it up somehow. But I think that's looking pretty good for distance. This is all the way up as far as I can go. It's got a bit of extra pipe in here as well that I can move back and forth. So anyway, we'll give that a cut, and we'll see how we do. Alright guys, the pipes are now cut. I'm going to stop it here for the night. What I need to do now is I need to go backwards again, and I need to remove the rear exhaust section from the car to be able to clean these pipes up here in the center a little bit. They're a little bit rusty from just sitting around, so we're going to just scuff those up with a probably an 80 grit piece of sandpaper. just to clean the rust off them so the pipes slide a little bit easier. And then we'll connect that up to the collector tomorrow. I think I have some clamps around somewhere that I'll have to dig out. If not, I'll have to go up to the hardware store and pick some out. So that's it for tonight, guys. We'll get back out here tomorrow and we will continue on. Thanks for watching.